Daniel still woke up at 5:12 every morning, even though he no longer had to. For years, that alarm meant survival. Catch the early bus, beat the rush, get to the warehouse before the supervisor started counting heads. If you were late twice, you were gone. No warnings, no second chances. He hadn't worked there in 3 years, but his body didn't know that. He'd lied there staring at the ceiling, heart racing already, mind scanning for problems that didn't exist. Bills paid, job secure, apartment quiet, nothing chasing him anymore, except habits he didn't know how to turn off. He used to think this was discipline, being alert, staying ready. Lately, it just felt like he was living in a house with the smoke alarm still screaming long after the fire had been put out. The job he had now was nothing like before. Small design studio, flexible hours, a boss who actually told people to go home on time. The first time she said it to him, he thought it was a test. "Daniel, it's 6. Why are you still here?" "I'm finishing up." "It can wait. Go home." He stayed another hour after she left anyway, just in case. Because where he came from, going home early meant you didn't care enough. And people who didn't care were the first to be replaced. His sister noticed it at first. They were sitting in her kitchen one Sunday, eating takeout straight from the containers like they always did. Daniel kept checking his phone, even though nobody was messaging him. "You know you don't work today, right?" she said. "I know." "So why do you look like you're about to get called into the principal's office?" He laughed, but it came out thin. Just used to being on standby, I guess. "For what?" He didn't have an answer. She studied him for a moment. "You're safe now, you know." Daniel nodded quickly, like he agreed. But the word safe felt foreign, like something meant for other people. What he didn't tell her was that safety made him nervous. When life got quiet, his mind filled the silence with worst-case scenarios. If nothing was wrong, something would be soon. That's how it had always worked. Growing up, peace never lasted. If the house was calm, it meant a storm was coming. If his phone didn't ring, it meant bad news was waiting somewhere else. So he learned to stay ready, stay small, stay careful, expect the hit before it landed. That version of him had kept him alive, but it didn't know how to let him live. The shift didn't happen in some big dramatic moment. It started on an ordinary Tuesday. He had a presentation at work, the kind of thing that would have terrified him a few years ago. Public speaking meant attention, and attention meant pressure, and pressure meant mistakes. But he'd prepared. He knew the material. Still, 10 minutes before the meeting, he felt that familiar urge to disappear. Maybe he could pretend to be sick. Maybe someone else could present. His boss knocked lightly on the conference room door. You ready? He opened his mouth to say no. Instead, he heard himself say, Yeah, I think so. She smiled like she believed him and walked away. For the first time, he realized nobody was waiting for him to fail. Nobody was keeping score. Nobody was hoping he'd mess up so they could justify pushing him out. The danger he was bracing for wasn't there. It hadn't been there for a long time. The presentation went fine. Not perfect. He stumbled once, lost his place, made a joke that didn't land, but nobody gasped. Nobody judged. Someone even nodded like they appreciated what he was saying. When it was over, he didn't feel triumphant. He felt confused because the world hadn't ended. That night, he didn't set his alarm. It was a small act, but it felt risky, like leaving the door unlocked on purpose. He lay in bed, staring at the clock, half expecting something to go wrong, because he wasn't prepared. Morning came anyway. Sunlight crept through the blinds. The city moved at its usual pace. Nothing had fallen apart while he slept. He stayed in bed a few minutes longer, listening to the quiet without trying to outrun it. It was the first time he understood something he'd never been taught. The habits that protect you in hard seasons don't always belong in peaceful ones. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop surviving. Over the next few months, Daniel started noticing the ways he was still living like the ground could disappear at any moment, apologizing for things that weren't his fault, taking on work nobody asked him to do, saying yes before he had time to think, expecting rejection before connection even had a chance. He didn't fix it all at once. He just caught himself over and over. You don't have to do that anymore. It became a quiet sentence he repeated in his head whenever the old instincts kicked in. You don't have to do that anymore. One evening, his sister stopped by unannounced. He was cooking, music playing softly in the background, something he never would have done before because it felt too relaxed, too exposed. She leaned against the counter, watching him move around the kitchen without rushing. You seem different, she said. Different how? Lighter, like you finally put something down. Daniel thought about it. I think I stopped carrying things that don't belong to me anymore. She smiled. About time. Later that night, after she left, he sat on the couch with the lights off, the city glowing faintly through the window. He realized he didn't feel on edge, not hyper alert, not bracing for impact, just present. The version of him that had survived everything was still there, steady, cautious, strong in its own way. But it was no longer driving. For the first time, he was. And he finally understood that outgrowing that version of himself wasn't betrayal. It was freedom. If you've ever been living like danger is still around the corner, even when life has changed? Maybe nothing is wrong with you. Maybe you're just carrying habits that helped you once but aren't meant to follow you forever. You don't have to erase the person who survived, but you are allowed to become someone who can rest. Together, let's move from doubt to power, one story at a time.